Hello and welcome to Indus News live from Islamabad. I'm Jawad Tehami and these are the headlines. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has appealed to the nation to follow SOPs for curbing the spread of the coronavirus. Addressing the nation, the Prime Minister said Pakistan Army will help implement COVID-19 restrictions. The country has reported 144 fatalities and over 5,800 cases overnight. India has again recorded the world's highest single-day spike in cases with more than 332,000 infections. Globally, the virus has claimed more than 3 million lives and infected over 144 million people. At least 130 asylum seekers are feared dead after their rubber boat capsized in the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of Libya. A rescue charity said dozens of bodies were spotted near a capsized vessel. A spokesman for SOS Mediterranean said another wooden boat is still missing with about 40 migrants aboard. Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia have ordered 4 Russian diplomats working in local embassies to leave. At a press conference, Lithuania's foreign minister said the diplomats were involved in non-desirable activities. Earlier, Moscow asked 5 Polish diplomats to leave the country by the 15th of May in a tit-for-tat move. The U.S. Senate has passed a bill with overwhelming majority to combat the rise of hate crimes against Asians. The bill, passed by 94-1, will be presented in the House of Representatives, with Democrats hold a clear majority. The U.S. has seen a surge in racially motivated crimes against Asian Americans since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic. Those were the headlines and detailed stories right after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and now for the news in detail. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has appealed to the nation to follow SOPs for curbing the spread of the coronavirus. Addressing the nation, the Prime Minister said Army will help implement COVID-19 restrictions. He warned that Pakistan may soon be facing a similar situation to India if the current trend continues. The country has reported another 144 deaths due to coronavirus in the past 24 hours. The Health Ministry says the countrywide death tally is now approaching 17,000. It says more than 5,800 people tested positive for the virus overnight. India has again recorded the world's highest single-day spike in COVID-19 cases with more than 332,000 infections. The country has also registered its record 2,263 deaths in the past 24 hours. Globally, the virus has claimed more than 3 million lives and infected over 144 million people. More in this report.
Adverse effects of vaccines are complicating the efforts to control the outbreaks. A World Health Organization advisory group has updated guidance on the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine to include the risk of rare but severe blood clots. But WHO said it still believes that the benefits of the vaccine outweigh the risks. Meanwhile, the situation in India continues to get worse. 13 coronavirus patients who were in the ICU have died in a fire at a hospital in Maharashtra's Virar near Mumbai. Mass cremations have begun in New Delhi as the city faces a deluge of COVID-19 deaths. Volunteers have stepped up to help with funeral ceremonies of COVID-19 patients, whose bodies have been refused by the families for their last rites.
जब families body accept नहीं करते,
when the families do not accept the bodies of COVID-19 patients, the hospitals hand over the bodies to us after completing a small police formality. When the bodies come to us, we inquire about his religion, and if the patient is a Hindu, we perform the funeral as per Hindu customs, and if the patient is a Muslim, we do the funeral accordingly.
Canada has also banned all flights from India and other regional countries for 30 days due to the spiking cases. This comes as a variant contributing to India's deadly surge was detected in Belgium, while the UK reported 55 more such cases. Meanwhile, the European Commission has asked the states to back legal action against AstraZeneca over an alleged breach of its contractual supply obligations. The German parliament's upper house has approved the act to give the government emergency powers during the pandemic.
Das vierte Bevölkerungsschutzgesetz ist ein wichtiges.
The Fourth People's Protection Act is an important instrument and is not a challenge to the federal system and the way it works. It sets a unified parameter. It is a tool to deal with the current phase of the pandemic and has a time limit on it that expires on June 30. It is a compromise that can make a difference to our current situation, as the Act's name even suggests. It is an emergency brake.
South Korea has conditionally allowed the public to use 2 self-test kits for the first time, as a renewed surge has kindled calls to step up testing. A man in Australia has tested positive after finishing his hotel quarantine, raising concerns about community transmission.
At least 100 asylum seekers are feared dead after their rubber boat capsized in the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of Libya. A rescue charity said dozens of bodies were spotted near the capsized vessel, which was carrying about 130 people. A spokesman for the SOS Mediterranean said another wooden boat is still missing, with about 40 migrants aboard. Meanwhile, in a tweet, the International Organization for Migration expressed sadness over the tragedy. The global agency renewed the call on states to redeploy search and rescue vessels in the Mediterranean Sea. Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia have ordered 4 Russian diplomats working in local embassies to leave in solidarity with the Czech Republic. At a press conference, Lithuania's foreign minister said the diplomats were involved in non-desirable activities. Russia's ties with the West are strained over a range of issues, including Moscow's alleged troop buildup on Ukraine's borders and the health of jailed Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny. Earlier this week, Prague expelled 18 Russian diplomats, accusing them of being secret agents involved in a deadly explosion at a Czech arms depot in 2014. Russia's foreign ministry dismissed the allegations and expelled 20 Czech diplomats in response. Earlier, Moscow asked 5 Polish diplomats to leave the country by the 15th of May in a tit-for-tat move. The U.S. says it will continue to monitor the situation on Russia's border with Ukraine after Moscow's troops' withdrawal announcement. In a statement, State Department spokesman Ned Price said no pullout has been made yet. However, Russia's state media says Moscow has begun pulling out troops that took part in a military exercise in Crimea. Earlier, the Russian defense minister ordered troops to return to their bases after the completion of drills. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin said he is ready to host Ukrainian president in Moscow for talks over bilateral issues. But he said if the Donbass is on the agenda, Vladimir Zelensky must first meet with the leaders of the Donetsk People's Republic in eastern Ukraine. The U.S. Senate has passed a hate crimes bill to combat violence against Asian Americans in the wake of the pandemic. Activists say former President Donald Trump's comments blaming China for the COVID-19 fed anti-Asian sentiment. The bill passed 94-1 with Missouri Republican Senator Josh Hawley the only no vote. The measure designates a Justice Department employee to expedite a review of hate crimes. It also provides guidance for the local law enforcement agencies to combat discriminatory language in describing the pandemic. Senate's Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said the U.S. will do everything to eliminate racially motivated violence. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has reached Istanbul for a 2-day official meeting. He will be meeting his Turkish and Afghan counterparts today to discuss the Afghan peace process. The Foreign Office said Qureshi was invited by his Turkish counterpart Mevlut Çavuşoğlu. The 2 foreign ministers will hold talks on bilateral relations and regional security situation as well. The visit marks the preparations for the high-level Strategic Cooperation Council to be held in Turkey later this year. The U.S. Central Command has expressed concern over Kabul's ability to hold ground after foreign forces pull out. General Kenneth McKenzie, head of CENTCOM, was speaking during a hearing of a Senate Armed Services Committee. General McKenzie said the Afghan military could collapse without continued American support. He said the U.S. will look for a remote way to help the Afghan forces without having U.S. personnel in the country. Speaking with the reporters later, McKenzie noted that the pace of the Taliban attacks against Afghan forces is as high as the past 2 decades. He termed the Biden administration's deliberate and methodical withdrawal decision as promising. In Iraq, at least 3 Katyusha rockets landed in the perimeter of Baghdad International Airport near the U.S. military base. In a statement, the Iraqi military said there are no immediate reports of casualties or damages. The military said it also defused more unfired rockets found from the house used to launch the attack. No group has claimed the responsibility for the attack so far. Last week, 2 Iraqi soldiers were wounded in a similar attack on an Iraqi military base in northern region. Japan is set to hold military drills with the U.S. and France next month in the country's southwest. The Japanese Ground Self-Defense Force says the drills will be the first large-scale exercise involving troops from all 3 countries. In a statement, it said the drills will take place from May 11 to 17 in the Kyushu region. Defense Minister Nobukishi told reporters that France shares the vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific. He said Tokyo wants better cooperation to improve the skills of Japan's forces in defending remote territories. In the U.S. state of North Carolina, protests continued for the 2nd day after the fatal shooting of a black man in his car by the local police. The shooting came a day after a jury found Derek Chauvin guilty of murdering George Floyd. North Carolina Police Department says they have opened an investigation into the killing of Andrew Brown Jr. The event unfolded on April the 21st when authorities served Brown with a search warrant which led to his killing. Law enforcement officials did not say if Brown was armed at the time or whether he was considered a threat to the officers. The African American community says they fear for their safety.
Neighbor across the street killed, and my baby comes running in my room with fear in his face. Like, how do I keep him safe if the people that are supposed to serve and protect us and keep us safe are the ones taking them out?
The U.S. military is sending airborne assets to aid Indonesia's search for a missing submarine with a crew of 53. Rescue teams from several countries are working to find the submarine that lost in the Bali Sea. 2 Australian Navy ships are also heading for the search area, including a frigate with special sonar capabilities. The KRI Nagala 402 lost contact with the Navy during a torpedo drill in the Bali Strait on Wednesday. Authorities have warned that oxygen in the submarine will run out within 24 hours. Meanwhile, the Indonesian Navy said its ships have found an unidentified object at a depth of 50 to 100 meters. The Navy said they are waiting for a ship with underwater detection facilities to arrive before they could investigate it further. NASA's Ingenuity helicopter has undertaken its 2nd flight on Mars. The robot aircraft earlier made history when it rose just over 10 feet into the Martian atmosphere for nearly 40 seconds. NASA says Ingenuity rose around 6 feet higher and stayed aloft for nearly 52 seconds. It also performed a sideways tilt. Officials say the flight of the 1.8 kilogram rotorcraft will help pave the way for a new mode of aerial exploration. The debut flight of Ingenuity was documented in a full-color video by cameras aboard the science rover vehicle Perseverance. NASA likened the achievement to the Wright brothers' first controlled flight near Kitty Hawk, North Carolina in December 1903. In Brazil, a life is finally returning to Sao Paulo's heavily polluted Pinheiros River after removal of the trash. Experts say the arrival of the fish and the birds in one of the tributaries of the river has benefited hundreds of thousands of households. More in this report.
Pinheiros River was considered a lost cause, but recent sightings of fish, ducks, and herons show wildlife could return to the river that runs through the heart of the sprawling South American city. The São Paulo governor says 30,000 tons of surface garbage has already been removed from the river, and 20 boats are working daily to clean the Pinheiros.
Esse é o maior projeto ambiental do país do ponto.
This is the largest environmental project in the country in terms of investment. A $727,344 million investment, $454,590 million in public investment, and $272.754 million in private investment. To rescue a river that for 70 years has become a bad example for Sao Paulo, a polluted and stinking river.
With visible improvements, there are fresh hopes that residents of South America's largest city will make every effort to keep the river clean as they return to its banks. According to experts, the Corrigo dos Patario tributary has benefited at least 200,000 households living along the river's banks.
Foram feitas 200.
More than 200,000 calls were made out of the 500,000 house calls they want to make. This is very important. In this way, the main river can be cleaned by its tributaries, which provides better quality water to dilute any dirty water.
Experts believe the efforts could achieve some success within the stipulated time frame, but improved water oxygenation and a reduction in the Pinheiros foul odor would require a long-term effort.
In Thailand, a Buddhist temple has broken the Guinness World Record for the largest candle display by lighting up over 300,000 candles. Details in this report.
In a beautiful spectacle, the monks of the Wat Para Dhammayaka temple chanted around a golden shrine as a 78-acre compound was lit. A total of 330,000 candles made up the shape of a Buddhist monk, meditation within a huge design of the earth. It is estimated that around 300,000 monks and devotees attended the ceremony virtually. Being themed as Cleanse the Mind, Cleanse the World, the event was timed to coincide with Earth Day. Temple's authorities say the purpose was to remind people to cleanse their minds before they start cleaning the world.
Another weather situation from around the globe. For now, for the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News.